In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Velotric Nomad 1 e-bike. This e-bike is the perfect balance between speed, weight, battery life, efficiency, and overall comfort. Look at the color of this frame, and guess what? It's not the only color. You can get this bike in 4 different colors. It comes in cyan, sky blue, spring, and of course the mango, which I got. The frame is aluminum alloy, and all the cables that leave the brakes and the speedometer and the lights and stuff like that all pass through the frame and go down inside and exit through the back to get to the rear wheel. So that's nice that all the cables are not just completely exposed. A little bit exposed over here, but it tucks right in here and it's pretty much gone. The battery fits nice and neat in here, almost seamless, just looks one with the frame. That's nice and sleek and thin and just has a nice compact all around look. The frame is also available in the step through, which is the model I have because yeah, I don't like lifting my feet over. I prefer to just step through. And there's also the high step model available for all the different colors, just in case you don't like the step through look and feel. But yeah, I'm going with the step through. Now, the motor for this e-bike is in the rear wheel, and it's a 48 volt, 750 watt, peak 1200 watt. The battery on this bike is a 48 volt. It's a 692 watt hour. It's UL listed, and it's a Samsung or LG grade battery. It comes with a 3 amp charger, which will charge this bike in about 5 or 6 hours at 100 all the way to 240 volts. The display on this bike is a 3.5 inch. It's pretty big. Everything is displayed big and bright. It's not colored, but it's bright enough for you to see in daylight. And it's backlit, it's LCD, and it shows stuff like your speed, your trip, your battery info, your assist level. It has 5 assist levels in it. It also has a USB port with a 5 volt, 500 milliampere output for external devices in case you want to charge your phone. It also displays walk mode when you're in walk mode simply by holding the minus button down on the controls over here, and you can walk with this bike as well. So it has all the premium features that a lot of the expensive e-bikes come with. But one of the best things we'll get to about this bike is not just the comfort, not just the feel, not just the look, not just the overall performance and efficiency of this bike, but the cost as well. It also comes with a throttle assist, so you don't always have to pedal. Just press on the thumb throttle over here, which is a quarter press down thumb throttle, which I really like. I was a little concerned at first because it was on the left side of the handlebar instead of the right side of the handlebar, which most thumb throttles do come in. But I got used to it pretty quickly, pretty easily, and let me tell you, this throttle is super responsive. From the time you touch this throttle or from the time you pedal this bike, there is practically no delay. Like a lot of other e-bikes on the market where there's a delay, it can cause you to tip over, lose your balance because it doesn't kick in fast enough. This bike does not have this problem at all. From the time you touch this throttle or start pedaling, this bike is in get up and go mode. This bike is rated to go within 52 to 55 miles depending on if you're using just throttle or pedal assist. From my test, I got anywhere between 22 to 30 miles depending on how aggressive I was riding this bike and how much throttle versus pedal I was using. But one thing I will say is I can pretty much sure if you're using this bike for transportation purposes, you can easily get 30 miles out of this bike. I'm a little aggressive and I do a lot of stop and going, bobbing and weaving, and I love to go heavy on this throttle and in the highest speed mode. This is a class 2 e-bike, I must tell you, so it's only rated to go 20 miles an hour and it reaches 20 miles an hour pretty fast. You can go over to 20 miles an hour if you unlock the bike and it does not come unlocked. But if you deep dive into the manual, yes, there's unlocking instructions in there, which I will not do because I pretty much like to stay within the speed limit, especially here in New York City. A lot of crazy drivers on the road. It has a 8-speed derailleur at the back there, so there's 8 gears that you can pretty much select. And let me tell you, it's Shimano. Not only that, this gear selection process here, the way you change the gears by touching these 2 levers, like It is so intuitive and so easy, because whether you're shifting up or you're shifting down, it's so easy, so soft to the touch. Another thing I will say about this cassette, or this whole derailleur gear system here, that's unlike a lot of other e-bikes in the market. When you go in bumps and holes, most e-bikes, the chains will slap. This bike is ultra quiet. You can go in bumps, you can go in holes, and this chain does not slap, it does not hit, it does not vibrate. It's just an ultra quiet bike. It also does have 180 millimeter both front and rear hydraulic disc brakes. So this bike has good stopping power. I didn't notice a brand on these hydraulic brakes, but they do work, and they work well, especially when you use both at the same time. Also, the brakes have power cutoff, so from the time you mash any one of these two brakes, it will cut off the motor from pushing you further. The brakes are also adjustable, but they work fine for me the way they came out of the box. I have no complaints. Let me take this moment to talk about the handlebar. It's just so comfortable. The whole ergonomics of this bike. This bike was built, I believe the designers, I give huge props to whoever designed this bike, because it's built with comfort in mind. The way they position the handlebars, the seat positioning, and everything for a person like me who's 5'8", it just fits perfectly. This bike is a dream to ride. It does have a quick adjust seat post, and the handle, if you put it to the preset adjustments that it comes with out the box, this is a very comfortable ride. And these handle grips are soft and plush and just feel so good when you're riding. This bike also comes with fat tires, so it's 26 by 4.0 puncture resistant liners that's in the tires. It's not like an aluminum alloy rim. It is spoke rims, and I was concerned about that when I first got the bike. I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about spokes, especially coming from the full aluminum rims, but I've had no problems at all. When you take this bike out of the box, this stem comes faced the other way. You actually have to spin the stem around and point it towards me. If you don't, then the handles will fit real awkward. So remember to position the stem. As a matter of fact, Velotric actually makes a unboxing video. So when you get this bike, I'll leave a link up here for the unboxing video. And it's not a shabby unboxing video. It actually shows you step by step everything that you need to do when you take the bike out of the box to set it up correctly. So that way you make sure you get your handlebar stem set up the right way, you make sure you line up the cross the right way, you put on the wheel the right way, you take off all the padding, you charge up the battery. It shows you pretty much everything. So if you're not a big setup person and you're thinking you have to take this to a shop to set it up, no, you don't. I'm a pretty hands-on person. I took my time with it, and I followed the video, which made it really easy for me. It came with all the tools, so it was a pretty standard setup, I would say. If you set up an e-bike before, you've done one, it's pretty much the same with all. The front suspension on this bike is fully adjustable, and it's hydraulic as well. It's a nice soft ride. I didn't mess with it out the box because I just felt like it was already set for me. The rear doesn't have any suspension, but I do plan to put in a adjustable suspension seat post, so that way when I go in bumps in the rear, I don't feel it that much. I will say that I thought the first thing that I was going to change was going to be this seat, but no, I didn't. The seat's actually relatively comfortable out the box. It's not the most comfortable, but it's comfortable enough that I could ride from here in Queens all the way to the city and back and not have any complaints. So that's about a good hour of riding straight out the box. I didn't really have to change or want to change anything on this bike. And that says a lot about the team who designed this bike. They really put a lot of thought, a lot of care, and a lot of work into the design and comfort and feel of this bike. And I will tell you, this bike feels really good when riding. The bike also has front and rear fenders, which does a phenomenal job of preventing you from getting wet if you ride into any puddles. If you know you're going to be using this as a commuter and you might end up riding through the rain or the drizzle sometimes, yeah, make sure that you install these fenders. The max load on this bike is 440 pounds. The bike itself weighs 73 pounds. That's the high step, and the step through, which is the model I have, weighs 72 pounds. This bike has a nice retro look. It's definitely not for everyone. I saw it at first and I thought, it looks more like a lady's bike. That was just my opinion, but after riding it and feeling the comfort and just the overall response of this bike, I just fell in love. I didn't care about what it looks like anymore, but it's got this nice retro look. The handlebar that shows you perfectly how to align this bike is a huge plus for me. The throttle position, the throttle response, and the ease of use of this throttle, I just love on this e-bike. The way this bike shifts gears with this touch shifter, you hear that noise, it's just so easy. You could do it with one finger. That's how easy it is to shift. It is so seamless, so quiet, so responsive. When you shift, I feel like it corresponds very easily with the pedal assist mode. So you can definitely easily find a pedal assist mode that suits whatever gear you're on. It just blends so well the way they designed this bike. Another thing I like is that it comes with reflectors on both wheels. Because this has spokes, they were able to fit the reflectors in between the spokes. Even though the battery is smaller compared to other e-bikes, the way it blends with the derailleur and the 8-speed transmission on this bike, and the way it shifts so easily, and the way it blends with the 5-speed pedal assist that comes on this bike, it just makes this bike so seamless and easy to ride. So it doesn't use that much battery like my other bikes I thought it would. It's a nice balance between pedal and between battery. It's almost like a seamless transition that makes this bike really fun to ride and very light on the battery. Now, like everything in life, could use some improvements. And as much as I like the battery, and I'm thinking about getting a second battery, I just wish they had put a slightly bigger battery into this bike. I feel like they can come out with an oversized battery. I would definitely buy it to get a little bit more range out of this bike. And I feel like even if I run out of battery life, I can pedal home without having to worry. So that's a huge plus, but still, I'd like some more battery. Also, that we're on the topic of battery, I don't like the plug that plugs into this battery to charge it. The points are just very small and you have to spin it to line it up perfectly. But as long as you take your time and you make sure you line up properly and you take a little bit of care when you're plugging it in, you'll be fine. But if you're kind of rough and just forceful and you push on it, you could break the plug that goes in to charge this battery. I'd like to see some kind of improvement here. The wires are managed nice, but I guess I'm just aiming for perfection. But at this price point, I'm definitely not going to complain. I would have liked to have a rear light that's linked to the rear brakes or both brakes. So when you mash brakes, the rear light would light up. This bike just does not have that. Another complaint is the rear rack. I wish this bike came with the rear rack because when I'm traveling or I'm riding, I always have my backpack and a bunch of drones and stuff that I prefer not to have on my back when I'm riding. I'll just throw it on the rear rack, strap it down because I have a bungee net. It does have the 4 bolts to receive the rack, so I'm pretty sure rack will be out soon. It's just that I'm riding today and I would like the rack today. The rack is not expensive, but still it would have been nice to just throw the rack in and tack on a few extra bucks. A few other little things worth mentioning. This little light in front looks small and dull, but it's not. It's actually adequate and gets the job done. And you know, for this price point, you can always buy your own light and pop it on, accessories and stuff like that. It comes with a reflector also in front. And the bell is definitely worth changing if you can, right? I've gotten used to it. It is one of those press down flicky kind of a bells, but it does work, right? And it's positioned right, so I just use it. And that pretty much wraps it up with this bike. Surprisingly, I don't have a lot of negatives to say about this bike like I do with other bikes. And that's because I'm actually in love with this bike. Just the overall weight, the efficiency, the smoothness, the quietness, the comfort, the handling. This bike was just built with the ultimate comfort experience in mind. Big props to the engineers behind the design of this bike. I am so happy, and every time I think about riding, this is the bike I default or reach for. So that should say a lot. Also, it would have been nice to see the bike come with a lock too. I did buy my own lock, but I'm not going to complain at that price point. Speaking of price point, this bike only costs $13.99. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this bike is so affordable. Not only that it's so affordable, that they managed to put all of these cool features. They managed to make everything work smoothly and seamlessly. They just got this bike right. And the price point is amazing. Trust me when I tell you guys, you will not be disappointed riding this bike. I highly, highly recommend that if you're getting into the e-bike space, this should be your first bike, hands down. You will not be disappointed. That's it. That's my honest review of the Velotric Nomad 1 step through e-bike. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you give me a huge thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe if you want to see more e-bike reviews. And I will catch you guys, well, whenever I can. Make sure you become a Patreon, guys. Big benefits to Patreon. Get direct access to me. Any questions? I'm right here on Patreon. Support this channel, and there's benefits. Last Meaning 2 went all the way to the UK.